There have been millions of video games released ever since the very first video game in 1958 by physicist William Higginbotham, which pretty much resembled the 1970s classic game, Pong. Many genres of games have been created for people to choose from, and even though millions of games have been released, naturally, we must rank the greatest to the worst. For today's video, we're going to show you 10 of the worst games of 2021. So before we get into it, you know the routine. Thumbs up, subscribe with the notification bell for future updates. This is Gaming District. Number 10. Gods Will Fall. Gods Will Fall is a dark fantasy action-adventure game with roguelike elements. The game is designed for fighting and action. It was published by Koch Media and was released on the 28th of January 2021. The game provides you with 8 characters whose job is to destroy gods who have been poisoned by the lust of power, and the game can only be played by one player. Unfortunately, players find the life system frustrating and the combat's clunky. Number 9. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the Game Complete Edition. Last year in September, Ubisoft announced that the complete edition of the Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, a remaster of the original, will be released on January 14, 2021, and will now be available on Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Amazon Luna, and Stadia. Since the game is one of the higher-profile re-releases of January 2021, people were intrigued by the new version. Unfortunately, the game was found to have slow character movement and hit detection issues. Number 8. Sense, a cyberpunk ghost story. A cyberpunk ghost story is a creepy 2.5D side-scrolling adventure game set in a futuristic Neo-Hong Kong. Cyberpunk was released on the 7th of January 2021 this year. The game was developed by Suzaku Games and was published by Top Hat Studios and East Asia Soft. Cyberpunk's genre is survival horror, side-scrolling, and adventure. The game features Chinese folklore and cyberpunk themes. Although it seems like the game would be a success, it wasn't. It's because of the game's poor combat and noticeable frame rate drops. Number 7. Returnal. Returnal is an upcoming solo-player third-person shooter psychological horror video game. The game is developed by House Marquee and to be published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. It is said that the game will be released for PlayStation 5 on the 13th of April this year. The games that were published by Sony Interactive Entertainment are usually the best, but the trailer for Returnal seemed to be basic and did not look too unique, unlike the previous games. Number 6. Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite is an upcoming first-person shooter game. The game was developed by 343 Industries and will be published by Xbox Game Studio. Halo Infinite debuted last summer of 2020, but Microsoft had no flagship Xbox to show people because the game was delayed. Because Infinite debuted last summer, the trailer was released. The video received a lot of backlash and negativity from netizens because of the video game's disappointing graphics. Another reason not too many people look forward to playing the game is that the game is not running on the next-gen Xbox. With all the negative feedback, Halo Infinite's release doesn't seem to be anticipated, so hopefully the delay was used to improve the game. Number 5. The Outlast Trials. The Outlast Trials is a first-person survival horror game that you can play by yourself or with other players online. The game is developed and to be published by Red Barrels. The storyline is to use involuntary recruited humans as guinea pigs to test advanced method of brainwashing and mind control. The Outlast Trials is the third installment in the Outlast series. It serves as a prequel to the first 2 games Red Barrels released. The original Outlast was arguably the scariest video game ever made, as it left a permanent impact on its players. However, when Outlast 2 was released, many were expecting more, but unfortunately, it had a lot of problems and truly seemed to be suffering from the sophomore slump. People thought that Outlast Trials would go either way, but most don't think it will be any better. Number 4. Resident Evil Village. Another horror survival game is Resident Evil Village. The game was developed and will be published by Capcom. The game was announced to be released on the 7th of May this year. This game will serve as the 8th major entry in the Resident Evil series. Many Resident Evil players were wondering why Capcom decided to make another version of the game about the most boring characters in Resident Evil canon, Ethan Winters. Luckily, a familiar character, Chris Redfield, will be there too. The new game setup is in a spooky European town, meaning it will be a few cues from the Resident Evil 4. Capcom plans to release a demo for the game. With the demo, players will be able to experience the game before they decide to purchase it. Number 3. Far Cry 6. Far Cry 6 is an upcoming first-person shooter game. The game was developed and to be published by Ubisoft Toronto. The game was designed by design director Ted Timmons. The player's setup for Far Cry 6 is that of a local Yaran, who's a person from Yara, a fictional Caribbean island ruled as a dictatorship by El Presidente, Anton Castillo. To advance through the tyrannical island, players must fight using the top guerrilla tactics and weapons to free the nation. The players are expected to be immersed in the adrenaline-filled, chaotic world of a modern-day guerrilla revolution. The problem with the Far Cry series is that all of them are very similar to each other. Most mainline titles are practically the same game, but take place in a different part of the world. Because the series is very similar, players might get sick of the game setup. If you're looking for a series of games to play that changes, Far Cry might not be what you want. Number 2. The Dark Pictures Anthology, House of Ashes. An interactive horror game, the Dark Pictures Anthology, House of Ashes, will serve as the third installment of the Dark Pictures Anthology series. The game is under development by Supermassive Games and will be published by Bandai Namco Entertainment this year. Despite the game's reliance on genre cliches, the game has stuck to the Dark Pictures Anthology players. The Dark Picture Anthology website explains that the game setup is about a military unit searching for chemical weapons, who coincidentally unearth something far deadlier. In the ruins of a buried Sumerian temple deep beneath the Arabian desert, something evil was disturbed. It's described as a savage and unstoppable nest of ancient and unearthly creatures that begin to hunt the animal at top of the food chain, us. Sounds great for a horrifying adventure. Problem is, people have been waiting for close to 5 years. Number 1. Lord of the Rings, Golem. You probably can't find one person who's not a fan of Lord of the Rings and Tolkien's Middle-earth. Because of Tolkien's Middle-earth's outstanding plot, it is known to be the most influential fictional world in history. So when Daedalic Entertainment announced in 2019 that they would be creating and releasing a game inspired by the movie, fans were excited. Even though fans were hyped, many were confused as to why the creators chose the Hobbit Golem as the focus of their upcoming game. Creating an entire video game focusing only on Golem, along with the other information we have about the game so far, has left fans baffled. So just with the knowledge of the main character for the game, there's no telling if a Golem-inspired video game will be a hit or a failure. These are the 10 worst games in 2021 so far. Which game do you think is a flop and a hit? Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. And if you're new to the channel, thumbs up, subscribe, and slam that notification bell for future gaming videos. Until next time.